Hi, good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Okay. Let's wait for a couple minutes for other people to join and we'll start. Okay. Okay, so I guess we can start now. So, anyone would like to give any feedback about quiz one? How was it? Anyone about the difficulty level of questions? Anything, any topic that you found difficult? Okay. So I'm assuming that it was good for everyone. So today's session is for week 7. Okay. And week 7, I think you're only going to have one session because we are only going to discuss the Python DB connectivity part. So rest of whatever is there in the lectures and slides, you can go through it once. That will be enough and solve just the practice and graded assignments. But mostly from week 7, only that Python DB connectivity part is going to be there in your OP exam. So we'll have 2 questions from there, one of which you have to solve mandatorily to pass OP. Right. And please solve the practice and graded query assignments also. So from this part, in theory related questions are not going to come. Only in OP we'll have a question from the programming part. Right. So I'll share my screen. Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So here, see, we will have some very fixed structure of code, right? So this is the structure, this is the exact syntax that you have to follow. The only part that is going to be different is the SQL query part that you have to write. Okay, the connection part is going to be same for all the problems. There's a fixed structure. So some of that structure will be given to you even during OP in the question itself. So you can just look at that and type, but you cannot directly copy paste. Okay, so that will be disabled. You have to type the whole thing. Now for most questions you will just have to play around with the SQL query and the result, like what you have to print. Okay, so we will solve some of the practice questions today also, and the practice questions that are given, those are the types, those are actually OPE PYQs only. Okay, so if you practice them, that's enough for OP. Okay, so let's start with looking at the syntax. So first you have to import this psychopg2 library. Okay, so this library is what we will
Ma'am,
use. Yeah,
when do we have this OPV for DVMS?
DBMS will have only one OP, that is OP2.
But when, ma'am? Any date?
I think it will
It's
be April
March
or
30, ma'am.
March end.
March
Yeah,
30
March.
is the day, ma'am.
Yeah. So only one OP for DBMS. So you will have 7 questions from just SQL, and then you will have one OP question from this Postgres DB connectivity part, Python DB connectivity, and that is a mandatory question. Okay, so you'll be given 2 choices. You have to solve one. So first thing you have to do is you have to import the psychopg2 library. So this is the library that we will use to establish the connection. Okay, so that's the first line of code. Then next line you have to define the actual function to make establish this connection. So that function we are calling it as connectdb here. Okay, and what are the parameters in the function? You have to give the database name, the username, the password, the address. So the address is nothing but your localhost address, and the port number. So port number you can find by going to your credentials in Postgres, and you can right click on it. Anyways, I'll tell you what ports are there. So it's 5433 or 5432, any one of them. Okay, so these are the first 2 lines. Now you come inside the function now, function definition. So first we have one variable called con, right? So this is the variable inside which we will have the connection string. So initially we have to initialize this variable with none. Then we have a try catch block. So anyone can tell me why we have a try catch block? What they're used for?
Ma'am, it's for exception handling.
Right. So if we get errors, okay. So we can write this code without this try catch block also, but it is advised to write it with this so that you can catch any potential errors. So first inside the try block, so now first thing you will do is connect Postgres to your establish the connection. Okay, we're doing this Postgres SQL database. So this is the connection string which we will store inside this con variable that we initialized, right? So this exact syntax you have to follow. You have to write psychopg2, that is the library, and inside that we'll have this connect, this module, right? Now inside connect you have to give all of your parameters. So first your database, whatever DB you're using, LIS, FLIS, whatever it is, that you have to give the DB name, then your username. So you can see this example below here. So connect DB, you can write my DB if that's your database name, then my user if that's your username, then whatever your password is, then the local host and the port number. So these 5 things, these are environment variables. Okay, so we'll have the actual structure of the code. I'll show you how it looks like. But first, let's understand each line. So if there is no issue with your connection, if you have put every environment variable correctly, everything is correct up to now, then it will print database connected successfully. Okay, we'll see this message. Now, if there is some kind of an error that occurs, so that you can catch here in this except part, right? So that will just print the error that is coming. And after you're done with your entire code, that is we have run the SQL query, everything is done, then you can finally close the connection. But this is very important. If you don't close the connection, it won't work. Okay, so finally in that block you have to write con.close. So this con variable is actually the object. Okay, so inside this you first initialize this whole connection string with all the environment variables, and at the end, after writing the code, you can close it. Now inside this try block, there will be a lot more variables that we are going to use to actually write the query and how the connection is established. So is this basic block clear up to now?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah,
Ma'am, where do we run or write this query, like this code?
I'll show you the portal, how it looks like. I'll show you.
No, I mean,
Okay.
in the Python IDE or in it, the PostgreSQL, like where?
No, you are going to see it. It's let me show you. In Python only, we're writing the whole thing. So it will look like this. Okay, so this is the editor. In OP, you will be given the question like this, and you have to write it here. Okay, so this entire code is in Python only. Only the SQL query part you have to write. That is also inside the cursor, the actual query variable. So once I show you the whole code, I think you'll understand. But yeah, this first try catch block up to this, is it clear for everyone? Any doubts in these lines of code? See, of course, you are not going to understand the whole thing because we are going to mostly focus on the SQL part of it. Okay, but this is the exact syntax that needs to be there for every OP question. Okay, so first thing is you install your psychobg2 library. Then you start defining the function connectdb, which has all of these parameters. Next thing, you have your connection variable, that is con. You can name it anything you want. And initially it is assigned none. Then inside the try block, we are going to write the connection string, which is this psychopg2.connect, and inside that you have all your environment variables. If the connection is successful, you print the database connected successfully, this statement. If there is some error, that will be caught in this except block, and it will print that. And after everything is done, you have to do con.close or whatever your connection variable is. Okay. So this is how we will call this function connectdb, and then you put all this information. That's the function you call. So this psychopg2.connect, this method. So what it does is, with all the required arguments that we are putting, so it is going to connect connect with Postgres SQL, right? So it will return a connection object if the connection is established successfully. So after this, we will have one object called a cursor object. Okay, so what this cursor object does is, so this is actually where we will run the SQL query using Python. Okay, so this cursor method is the connection object. So the execute method is one more thing we will see. So once you write your query, you have to execute that query, right? So you have to write cursor.execute. So that will execute the query that you wrote and return the result. Now, when we talk about results, now results can be different requirements, right? One thing might be, see, I am writing select star from a certain table. So I want everything present in that table, so all the rows. So in that case, you can write cursor.fetchAll. So basically, whatever your requirement is, if the problem is saying fetch all the rows from a table or fetch all the rows that are the result of this certain query, so you will write cursor.fetchAll. Now, if you want to fetch just the first row, then you will write fetch1. Okay, cursor.fetch1. But if you want a certain number of specified number of rows, let's say 4 rows or 5 rows, so then you can call this fetch many, this method. So you'll write cursor.fetch many, and inside the parenthesis you can mention the number of rows that you want to return. And what will happen if you don't write anything in this parameter for fetch many? It will just fetch one single row. Okay. Now there are two more these methods. So one is your commit. Commit does what? So whatever changes you're making to the database, let's say we are using some commands like I'm creating a new table or I'm inserting some values in a table, updating anything. So whatever changes you're making, those changes are only going to be valid through the scope of this particular program, this particular function definition. So when you are doing this, yeah, the result will show. But in the actual database where it is stored in the backend, right? So there the changes will not be reflected until you use this commit. So commit is mandatory if you want to make your changes permanent. And another one is your rollback. So rollback is something we are going to study a lot about in week 9, week 10, that part. Even in week 11 also. So rollback does what? Let's say I made some updates to my system, to my database. I maybe inserted a few new rows in my table. Okay, but there was some kind of a server crash or something happened, some technical difficulties happened, and the transaction or like whatever function I was performing, that wasn't able to properly finish, right, or commit. In that case, what we have to do is go back to the last stable state. Right. So the last stable state is what is where we will reach if we use this rollback command. So rollback means rolling back to the last stable state of the database before you started making the updates. And once you roll back, then you can again start doing that same query, right? Executing the same query. So that will just revert the database changes. Then last we have this cursor close and connection close. So these two methods. So you have to close the cursor, that is the object, the cursor object that you created, right? That you have to close, and at the end you have to close the entire connection. So these are all the different components. Okay. Now let's see the actual code. So yeah, this one. This is readable for everyone, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So first, see, I have done this import psychopg2. Now I'll show you all the results and everything, but I'm having some issue running these here. So I will show you the results when we write the codes for the practice query assignments. So there are about 6 questions. I think in practice I will solve 3-4 of them. Rest of it you do alone. But there is one question that is practice assignment 2. I think practice query assignment 2. So that is a difficult question. Some encoding teams, that question you can skip that. Okay, because that will require a lot more things. So if you want, I can give you the solution for that, but it is not mandatory to solve that question. Okay, the rest of them, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are important. So within the try block, first we have to establish the connection. So in this con variable, you will write psychopg2.connect. Now let's say my problem is based off of LISDB. So I'm writing database is LISDB, user is Postgres, whatever your username is there, right? And password, so this is the password, like Piyush12345, whatever the password is that you set while installing Postgres and setting it up, right? So that same password you will write. Local host is this 127.0.0.1 and the port number. So you can use 54335432, whatever is the port number. Then if this connection is working, if it is established, this line will be printed, database connected successfully. Now you will create the cursor object. So this is the variable cur. So you have to write con.cursor, that is, this is the object for this particular connection, right? So once the object is created, now one thing you can see that I have a separate variable called query, inside which I have written my SQL query. And then I have this line cur.execute, where in the parenthesis I have given query, that this is the query you're executing. Now, if you don't want to use a separate variable for your query, that is also fine. You can directly write the query inside this parenthesis here. But it is better to use a variable. Okay, it's more structured that way. So you can take a query variable, name it anything you want. Inside that you put your SQL query, and then cursor.execute, you put that query variable name. So that query will be executed and all the results will be fetched. Now, where will you store this result? Inside this result variable. So now we will use those methods that we saw: fetch many, fetch all, fetch one. So whatever is your requirement. Like here I want to fetch the first 10 rows. So I've written cur.fetch many, and in parenthesis you give how many rows you want. So I wrote 10. Next you will print result. So this is what will give you the actual result of the query that we want. Now in the result, right, whatever the result is, now something actually, if I could show you the format, how this will be when you print the result. Now, so it will not come in the form of a table, right? It will come in the form of tuples. Everyone knows what is a tuple, right, from Python. Do I need to rehash that part?
No, we know tuple in
Right.
Python.
So it is like a list of tuples. Okay, so each row will be a tuple inside the list. So that's how your actual result will be returned. Now we might want some specific information. Let's say I am returning the first name of a student, his roll number, and his department. Okay, so this is the information separated by commas inside each tuple, that is forming each row of my result. Now if I want just the student first name from all of the tuples, right, so inside that, what will be the command? I have to print the 0th element in the tuple, right? So you can just run a simple for loop, right, for I in result and print I of 0. You want the second element, print I of 1, like this. So this is according to your query requirements. Since all the result is going to be always in the form of tuples, list of tuples. Okay, where each tuple represents a row, so you can navigate that using a for loop. You can choose whatever you want to be displayed in your result. Once all the changes are made, your query is executed, your result is done, then you can write con.commit. That means all the changes are now committed in the actual database also. Okay. Now, lastly, you will have this block. So if con is not null, that is connection has been established. So con was none in the beginning, right? So now I have established the connection. I have committed the changes of whatever my query did. So con is now not none because I assigned the connection string here, this line. So if con is not none at this point, then you can close the connection. Okay. But this line, this is mandatory. Con.close you have to do. So this is the basic structure of how your every OP question answer will look like. Now where the changes will come is this part, this query. So this will vary, and according to that, you have to also change the result printing part. So I'll take 2 or 3 examples. It will become clear to you. Up to now,
Excuse
is
me, ma'am.
there? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, I have a query. Ma'am, if I have to write like in multiple lines the query statement, so how will I write?
That means you want to write select from where in different lines.
Yes, ma'am, like we used to write in like PostgreSQL, like select star from then next line, then next line.
No, see, that format doesn't matter, right? You can write it in one line or separate lines. It's the result will be the same. But since here we are taking this whole thing inside this, right? It's a string. So the query is inside these double quotes. So we write it all in one line only here. Okay.
Okay, so we
But the
cannot like,
queries now here, if you want to put an enter, it will just, if you just do like this, it will just go in the different line again. It's
Has
not.
the query to be written in a string itself?
Yeah, you have to use these double quotes, right? Inside that you'll write the query. So that's the string that you're passing in this as parameter in the execute method. Okay, so the thing is that the queries won't be very long that we give you. The main problem will come when you have to print the result. Okay, because you'll see most of the examples that we take, the queries are pretty straightforward. Maybe some team ID is given, you have to find out the team name from that. Okay, so these are one line queries only. You won't be having to write like huge queries like with nested subquery and all. Okay, that won't be there. So these are simple queries. The main thing will come with string formatting. Okay, that is one thing you have to know. That maybe I said that okay, you have to take the first name of the student, the roll number, and then maybe some other information, and it should come in this exact order. So you have to do that formatting while printing the result. One more thing that you might need to do is maybe you have to write some separate functions. Okay. So there is one question where it is given that you have to print the name of student, their department, and their date of birth. So you have to print whether the year in which they were born was an odd year or an even year, right? So according to that, if it is odd, you have to print odd. If it is even, you have to print even. But this function to check whether it is odd or even, that you have to write. Okay, so there can be small functions like that that you need to write. Not for every question. Some questions might have it.
Ma'am, where can we find these login details from Postgres?
Yeah,
So
you can go
database.
to the credentials. You can find this port number and all. You already know what your username and password is. Password is whatever you use when you installed it. So localhost is
No,
this only.
so in the Postgre app, tool, can we see somewhere under settings or somewhere, because I don't recall the
Uh,
password.
the port number you can get by going to the credentials. Okay, I'll show you once I do the
Hmm. Excuse me, ma'am, is this query not like, is this code not running? Or is it?
if I run it here, I was getting some problems. Actually, my VS Code is having some errors, so I am not running it here. I'm just showing you the code. I'll run it elsewhere.
Maybe the database needs the full address or
Yes, yes.
extension also.
No, no, this is enough. This is enough. Okay, I just have not installed some updates and stuff, so that's why it's not running here. But I will run this and show you how the result looks like. This is just to show you the query itself, and just so I can explain line by line. But is this structure clear every line?
Ma'am, could you please like explain the function of dot cursor?
Yeah, dot cursor. See, cursor is just your connection object. Okay, so after we have established the connection using this psychopg2.connect, okay, then we have to create this cursor object using cursor method of connection object. So that's why we write this car is equal to pawn.cursor. So this becomes a connection object, right? Why we need cursor is because cursor is what this method is what we use to run this SQL query using Python. Okay. Now, one more thing that I forgot to mention is that in some questions, so you will also need to import other libraries like math library, whatever you require for that particular question. Also, we would need to import sys and os, these two libraries. Sys is for your command line arguments. So that part is not here. That I will explain when I go to the questions. That is question specific. But these two libraries are going to be required in every question only. So psychology 2 is there only. Other than this, you also need to import sys for command line argument. So this is basically to read your database name which is stored in the backend. So you don't have to hard code the database name or anything. It can fetch it from the system backend. Okay. And one more thing is the OS library why we needed is to work with the environment variables. So this database user password, all these variables to interact with these, to work with these variables, we need the OS library. See, one more code, let me show you. I think we can solve some questions that will be better. Let's start with this one. See, so this is the question. Okay, this is visible for everyone, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the question will be given like this. You are given the problem statement here. So this is the schema that you need for this problem. It is saying write a Python program to output the jersey number of the player. The player's name is given in a file named player.txt, which resides in the same folder as the Python program file. Fine. Now the output of the Python program is only jersey number. So it has given you what exact output it wants. So for example, if jersey number of player is 99, then output should show just 99. Okay. But now what do we know that the player's name is given inside a separate text file. So first thing we need to do here is we have to read this text file. Okay. So let me just put this code here so we can. Which one is this? Okay, I'll write the code. Let me just get the structure. So this is the structure. I'll make all the changes that are needed. So first we have import sys. So this is for the command line argument, this one. Okay, see, database equals to sys dot argv, and in box brackets you have 1. So what this does is it will fetch the database name from the backend. Okay. Next, import OS. So that is for all of these environment variables, and psychology2 to establish the actual connection. Now, after importing 3 libraries, first we know what is the file name inside which we have our data is player.txt. So you write this file equals to, just change the name here, player.txt, and you open it in read mode, right? Then inside a variable called x, I am reading this file. So file.read. So now you have read the file. X contains whatever information was stored in that file, right? Then comes your try block. So inside that you establish the connection. So connection is equal to the same thing. So inside, instead of writing that con variable, I have now written connection. So connection equals to psychopg.connect. Inside that you have your database. So you fetch the name like this. Write this exact same command. And inside user you have your os.environment.get. So these are environment variables. First you need your pg user, password, host, port, all of this information. So see, all of this is actually, this thing will be given to you, right? This particular format is given here. Here you can copy paste, but in the exam copy paste will be disabled, so you have to type. Next, you'll create your cursor object. So write cursor equals to connection.cursor. Okay. Now you have to write the query. So what is the query here? So I have the, what does my text file contain? Player's name, right?
Yes.
So what do I need to find out? What is his jersey number? So what is that? What will be the query? Anyone can tell me? Just
Select
find,
jersey number from players.
select jersey number from players, then
Where player equal to that
Input.
empty braces.
where name equals to, right? The
Sorry.
name is given.
Yeah, name.
So this is just string formatting, right? So you can write this in different ways. So I can just write select
Where name is equal to what, your man?
name is equal to C. This is string formatting. So inside of this format method, I've written X. So X is where I read the contents of my file. So X contains the name of the player, right? So that will be replaced
Okay.
by this X value.
Okay. And that bracket has to be put, this curly bracket?
Yeah. This is a string, right?
No, this
So this curly
name is
braces
equal to.
inside. Yeah. This
Why we
curly
write that?
braces. This is the syntax for string formatting in Python.
Okay, so
So
it will
there are 3
replace
different
the.
ways.
Room of bed, please.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So when you write this, whatever is in, see, this curly braces will be replaced by whatever is stored in X. Okay, and it will take it as a string. So what was the query you said? Select jersey number from players, where what is given to us? Just the name. So name is equal to form this curly braces within quotes, and then you close the double quote for the query, and then write dot format X. So there are 2-3 different ways you can write this. It is not the only way. So you can also replace this part with percent %s. Then outside of this you can write percent %x, right? So percent %s is for the string, and it will take whatever value is stored in X. That will also work. But let's do it with this one now. So this is your actual query. Now after you have written the query, you need to execute it. So then next line you will write cursor.execute, and in parentheses you write query, the variable name. After it is executed, now you have to fetch the result. So inside result variable, you'll write cursor.fetch all. Everything that, every operation that we perform with the query, right? With the SQL part. So wherever we are running the SQL code using Python, this cursor object is going to be there, right? So result will be equals to cursor.fetch all. Since here we want all the information that this query fetches. So cursor dot fetch all. Now how do I want to print my result? Okay, now let's say if I write it here, if I just directly print result, then what will happen? Let me just okay, let's run it like this. Let's see. So this is giving correct code, right? So if I block out this part, okay, here I can't do that, right? Here I can't comment out. Okay, let's say if I delete this part, will it change anything? So now this is giving incorrect code because what? See, this answer is going to come in the form of a tuple, right? Anything that is stored in this result, whenever we write result cursor dot
So
fetch all.
what all will be there in this result here?
So this result will fetch only that your player name. Okay, I'm sorry, the jersey number. Okay,
Yes.
but
So
that
there's
will be
only one.
inside a tuple. Yeah, but
Ma'am,
you
you
if
can,
yeah, sorry.
sorry ma'am, sorry to interrupt, but you can scroll down the console output partner, so you will see the output below.
Yeah,
We'll see like how the output is.
I don't think it is shown. No, can't see it here.
Same
But
thing.
one thing you can do is in the last term's week 7 session, right? So there we had actually executed them in Jupyter Notebook. So there you can see the format of the tuples in which they come. Okay, I think we can see it in one other question, practice assignment 6. There I think the tuples will be visible when I
In the
scroll.
DB session also, it's mentioned like the sir, Piyush sir read that.
Yeah. So that this information, whatever is in your result, will come in the form of a tuple, but then those parentheses, everything will be there. But the result is only asking for just the jersey number, right? So that's why this is an incorrect code. So you have to actually fetch the element from it. So this part is mandatory. So you have to traverse that tuple, whatever is present in the tuple, you have to print that. So print I of 0, right? So there is only one element, the first element, so it will pick that. And then after this is done, you can close the cursor here only. So cursor dot close here.
Always will it be I of 0, or if we have
No, it can be if let's say your tuple, I took more information than just jersey number. I put uh, whatever is in question. Oh, here I can't see. This is the new UI. Okay, yeah. What was the question? What did you ask? I0. Yeah. So here, if I let's say if I fetched student F name, L name, okay, these things also, then there will be more than one element inside my tuple, right? So you can go I of 0, I of 1, I of 2, whatever you need to fetch for your result.
and how will the result come as?
So the result will come as just that element, not in the form of a tuple if you use this for loop.
So it will
So you
come
are
in
just,
different lines if it's a multiple.
yeah, it will come in, it can come in any form you want, okay? So if I don't do any kind of string formatting, I'm just taking, let's say I have 5 tuples. I'm just taking the first element from every tuple and printing it. So it will come in 5 different lines. Okay, but I can also concatenate some results from a single tuple in a way that I need. This question is not the same, right?
Yes, ma'am, this table is not the same. But could you please run the query?
This query should not run for this question, right? It is wrong. Which was the question we were doing?
Question 4, I guess.
4 we are doing. Yeah, it is showing 4 only, but this was not the this we were working with the players table, right?
Yes, ma'am, the table changed.
Oh, okay, that also happens. Okay, so now it's in this, I think. this is
It's
also
all.
not.
This is all.
So where did that question go?
I guess two, ma'am.
This one, this one. It has come to 3 now. Question 3. Okay, yeah. So if we run the correct query, it's a little slow. When is the actual deadline for submission of week 7 assignments?
March 2.
Okay.
This
So why
Sunday.
is
Um,
Ma'am, we
okay?
have to delete
So
that, na? Print result.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
why, see, this is the actual result. So that's why it was not showing there. It was a different question you
Yes,
had
ma'am.
opened. So this is the wrong one. Okay. So this is the actual form in which results are printed. See, list of tuples. So inside this list, there is a single tuple which contains the jersey number. Right. So if I remove this part, print result from here, so this will be gone. You only need to print the whatever is present inside the tuple. So run this for loop inside the tuple. You go to the 0th element and print that. Should be okay. Yeah. So you got 100 score, right? Now this is a very simple question. This type of question will also be there. Let's see question
Excuse,
4. Yeah.
ma'am, excuse, ma'am. In the previous question, ma'am, like this loop or the jersey number, will it be fetched for one player or for all the players available in the
No, no,
players?
we already gave you the condition, no, that the name is given in a particular file for the player that we want. So we are fetching that name from the file first by doing this file dot read operation. And whatever is stored in that file is stored in X. So the player name can now be found in X variable.
Ah, nee, ma'am.
So that
Name is there in the players table, but
hmm,
there may be more than two names or more than one name. Na?
yeah, 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 yeah. You can
So,
just add more variables.
so is it running only for one? It's running only for the first pair, na? This query is running for first pair only.
No, no, there is only one name inside this file.
Acha,
Inside
हाँ,
this particular file is one name.
अच्छा, okay, we didn't know. I didn't know, na. There are
So if there are multiple names, how will it be saved in
No, there
more
won't be
variables?
like that. It won't give you multiple names because then you cannot use this condition, right? Where
so,
name is equal to.
so for that we'll have to run a for loop again. Na?
Yeah. So what can we get? One type of question is that maybe we want to fetch more than the jersey number. So if there are 2 or 3 different things that you want to fetch, where let's say in my file maybe the name and age both things are given, so both need to be included in the condition. So you can write name equals to this, and then again for age you can write the same thing, and outside format you can just use x comma y, both variables. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, my query is like, suppose in my player.txt file, I have three names. So this query statement, will it run only for one statement or all? It will go through all the like tuples for the file of the file.
No, it will go through all of them if there are more than one. Okay, it will read whatever is there in your file, but usually since we are using this for a single variable, right? A single variable can be assigned to a single string only. This x is going to contain only that, but if there is a file which contains 2 or 3 different names, then we have to use different variables for that. But that is not how an SQL query works, right? You have a particular condition that for this player or this team ID I want to find
Yes,
out
ma'am.
something.
Hmm. Ma'am, here it's given like for the X, we have to place name with X. It's written in the query statement. So
Hmm.
X will read all the names, or will it read the first name only? That's what I'm just curious.
Here x is just having one name inside it.
Like, if player,
But when you read the entire file, right, it will have whatever the file contains. File.read is going to read whatever is in the file. Right. So if
so,
there are more than one names.
Ma'am?
okay, ma'am, but how will then this query will
No, then
understand?
then you will need 2 different variables. So then we need to read line by line. Okay. So you cannot read the whole file at once then. But
Okay,
that is not something we will give you in our OP exams and everything. There will only be one information present inside the file.
okay, ma'am. So
Okay.
by default, this query statement is reading only first line,
Yes. So
only one
these
line.
things, yes. So these things will be constant for all of the questions.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
But
Because if there
ma'am,
are different information, yeah. Go on.
But we have learned that selects a whole column, isn't it?
Yeah, select jersey number. You are selecting just the jersey number. From
No,
which jersey number?
usually jersey number is a column, no? It's an
Jersey number
attribute.
is a column, but inside that you are what you are trying to get in your result. You need the particular jersey number where the name is this, whatever is stored in X. So only that jersey number will be shown in your result. That's how normal
So
SQL query runs, right?
so ma'am, okay, so player.txt contains one name
Yeah.
and my table is players, right?
Hmm.
Okay, they're different. Player.txt and players is different.
Yes, yes. Players is your actual database. It is
Uh,
just a
right,
relation from your actual database.
right.
Okay, but this player.txt is a text file which
It's
is
some
given to
external
you.
file. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a different text file which is present in the same folder as this Python program.
Okay, and there is one name given in, and we have to okay read the
Yeah.
name and
So
then
you have to read that name and store it in a variable so that you can use that variable in your SQL query.
okay, ma'am, right. So for one name it will give one result, and if there are more than one name, so we'll have to
Then
run
you have to
this query multiple
read
times.
line. No, then you have to read the line by line and store them in different variables. So, for example, let's say if I want to print two different conditions, right? I'm
So
just
we
writing.
can do in that case now x for I in x, then this query format I, right?
Uh,
Like that, suppose there are two names, so x will read all the names.
but is it in that list format? It's not a list, right?
Like
I
first
don't
name
know
is
what format it is, so I cannot use a for loop like that. If it is a list format, then only I can traverse through the elements. Now, if it's a string, then these are separate strings.
ma'am,
So
this
if there are more than one strings present, so
ma'am,
if they're in the form of a list, then we
But
can do that.
like
hello,
it's
Yeah.
like
like if X reads, X is a text file, right? So suppose there are multiple lines, suppose there are 5 lines containing 5 names. So how do we define a variable that
No, then you
reads
cannot do it in that
line by
single
line?
variable. And so if all the five names are stored in the form of a list, let's say, then we can use a loop variable like I or something, and then for every iteration that X value will change, right? But then it becomes much more difficult because for every X value you have to run this query, right? X value will keep on changing. So then this whole thing
So
needs
we
to
need
be
to have
inside a
list.
for loop.
for that ma'am we can have a like for like a file dot read lines something
Yeah,
for I
so you
in
can read by those one line. There is a command to read a single line at a time,
right like
so that you can read.
for I in file dot read lines, then query,
Huh, huh.
then this statement, and for
But then the
instead of
query has to run multiple times.
हाँ मैम वो तो in the for loop ना it's in the for loop ना
Hmm, hmm,
तो फिर in the query instead of format x I will write format I
hmm.
First, we'll have to convert it into a list then, no? So,
नहीं read
Yeah,
lines
but
read
let's say
line is
player.text contains it in a list format. Then you can just read it like that. Or if even if it is not in a list format, even if it is line by line data, you can just do read lines. Read
I
a
have
single line at a time.
right ma'am but we have the advantage like it's only names are given na so
See, in any
if
of the text files that is given, not more than one information will be present.
like
Just for a single information, because it will make the code a lot more complicated. And we are not interested in Python here, right? We are interested in the SQL part. So the Python part will remain constant, most of all, for most of the questions. The only manipulation you do is in the query part and in the result printing part. Okay.
Ma'am,
Hmm.
for this code, can you show how the order of execution will be and how from query to like print it will go like
Okay. So first you write your query inside this query variable, right? Then you do this
yes,
cursor dot execute. So this will execute the query. Pass that as your argument.
yes.
Whatever the query executed, that result needs to be fetched. So it will be fetched inside this result variable.
Can you take some example like we are taking this and then from this line it is changing to this. Then it will be a bit clear.
I did not understand. Like, if you run this query, right? then it will like the result will be in the form of a list of tuples, right? It will be one list. Inside that there is a tuple which contains the jersey number. Okay, so that will be what is stored in result at that point, this result variable. It is a list of tuples. So in this case, a particular only a single tuple is there because we need to find for a single person, right? So only one tuple present, inside that only one value present. But if I print result at this point, then it will print that list of tuples only, and that's not the format we need. The format is given in the question as only the jersey number. So then you have to traverse inside that tuple. So for I in result, that is
Ma'am,
inside
can
that
you
list.
write it? I'm, if possible, can you take a screenshot and write
Like what part do you want?
from query to print? Like take jersey number and how it will go from this line to this line. Like what is happening behind the scene.
Um, I don't think I fully understand, but I'll try. See, this is
Okay.
the query, right? This is the SQL select from where normal
Yes,
query.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
and in place of name, this X value, whatever X is storing, the player name, that will be replaced here in these curly braces. This is normal string formatting in Python.
So this is first line and we are just taking the name in the curly braces.
Yeah, first all of this is done. You have to import all the libraries, read the file, establish the connection and everything. Uh,
Okay.
First establish the cursor object like this.
Hmm.
Then comes the query. After all of the connection is established, cursor object is there, then you write your query.
Okay.
Because this cursor object will execute the query, fetch the result and everything. So this
Yes.
is sort of like the bridge. Okay, so this is how you execute SQL using Python.
Okay.
So here the select query will do whatever you want it to. So here it will fetch the jersey number from players table where for a particular name of a player. Okay. Then you
So
write cursor.execute. So this executes the query and the result is now prepared.
here select jersey number from players where name is something.
Hmm.
So something means it is given already
It
or
is
we have.
given in this player.txt file, right? That is mentioned in the question. So that's why we are reading the file first.
Okay, okay.
So
So it
this
is
name is present in the file. So file.read, you read the contents of the file and store it in this X variable. So X variable now contains the name of the player.
oh okay. From player.text we are already taking that
Hmm.
content.
See, this is why here read this. Second. See, it is written that player's name is given in a file named player.txt, right, which resides in the same folder as your Python program file.
Hmm.
So you can
Okay.
directly read it. Just write this command, open player.txt, right, and in read mode, so you write R and you read this entire content, and whatever is stored in the file is now stored in X. So only a name of a player is there, which is now stored in X.
So dot format is only referring from that file and taking it to this query.
Dot format
That's
means what? This is the syntax for string formatting in Python, right? So this X
okay.
variable
Hmm.
that you are writing in parentheses, this is referring to this X variable, which is storing the name of the player.
Okay.
So name here, this curly braces will be replaced by the actual name that is stored in X.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. After that, you execute the query using cursor.execute. Now the
Hmm.
query is executed, you have your result. So inside result, now you have to fetch the result, right? So you have to write this cursor.fetch all. So since here I want all the information that this query uh, resulted in, so I will write fetch all. If there are more than one rows in my result, let's say I fetch information for 5 6 different players, so there are more than
Hmm.
one tuple present in the list,
Yes.
right? So in that case, you can choose you want to fetch one, fetch many, fetch all, whatever you want. So here I want fetch all. So when I write cursor.fetch all, now that list of tuples is now stored in result. That's why if after this line 17, if I directly write print result, it will print that list with a tuple inside it. But that's not the required format, right? Format in the question it says you need to just print the jersey number. So you have to print whatever is the zeroth element inside that list. That is the first tuple.
Hmm.
So that contains your jersey number. So for I in result, it will go through the elements in the list. There is only one tuple. So print I of 0. The element in that tuple is the jersey number.
So, ma'am, in query, we are getting the first line, and from that we are taking the whatever it is placed in the X, right? First line. We are taking the name.
X contains just the name.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And we are comparing it and uh, getting the result.
This is the
Fetch all.
condition. So for name, it will take whatever value is stored in X.
But if there are more than one line, then we have to go from the here to again to query, or we will
You can
get
see if
inside the for loop.
player.txt, if the player.txt file contains more than one lines, then there are different ways to access it. You can read one line at a time. You can put it inside a for loop if it is in the form of list. That depends, whatever you want to do, but that will make this a lot more complicated. So then this query has to run multiple number of times. But in
Like,
our syllabus, we'll just have one condition given. Okay, so there won't be more than one lines inside your text file.
ma'am, we are taking fetch also. It will read by default all the lines, no? If there are more than
It's
one
not a
line.
line. Okay, it's a list of tuples. So it will read that entire list. It will fetch
Okay.
that entire list.
So it is reading the whatever we are giving the query. It is reading all the
Result of that query.
tuples.
Yeah.
If there are more than one line in the X file,
Ma'am,
uh,
sorry to
will
interrupt, but uh, we are discussing very basic doubts now. Can we
Yeah.
move little forward? Because I'm sorry, but at the
Yes,
end,
yes,
if you
I
can take
understand.
these questions,
Because
because
these are very
these
basic,
are
I know.
Python doubts being asked in the DBMS
Yeah,
thing.
that's
So
that's what I am saying. That since see, so many people are asking me that if there are more than one lines inside the player file,
yeah,
so then what you have to do, that is a Python problem, right? And this is a DBMS course, so we are focusing on the SQL part, not the Python part. So by default, when I'm telling you that the file that is provided to you will contain only one information, so you do not need to worry about that if there are multiple lines inside it, there won't be any. Okay, you can check out all the PYQs, all of them are of the same format. Okay, so if you have that Python related query, you can look it up on the internet also. It's very easy. Just see how to read multiple lines inside a text file, right? So then you
okay.
can run this query, execute it. Result will be fetched inside this result variable, and then you just traverse through the tuples and print whatever element you need to in your result. Okay. After that is done, you close the cursor object. If there are any errors that will be spotted here in the except block, finally you have to close the connection. Here. Okay, let's try this question.
Ma'am, excuse me, if
Yeah.
ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, in this case, if there is only one name, so we can use X instead of this brackets, right? Like name equals X.
No, you can write %s. It is a string, right? And then outside of the query, you can write %x.
No, I mean,
Directly, we don't write like that.
ma'am,
There are
but
three
X,
different ways to write it. See.
no, but X is only one name, na? That is string, right?
Okay, you're saying, okay, let's see
Ah, yeah,
if
in
what.
this way, in this one, if I remove the format and this curly braces, I write only name equals
Let the
X
question again change. Let me go back to that question. One second. What you're saying?
yeah.
instead of
I think,
format.
ma'am, he's telling
To
curly
directly
braces.
write x, yeah.
Directly
Yeah,
write X
yeah,
inside.
yeah, right.
That also works, I think.
That should work.
Yeah.
So let's run it once.
No, curly braces is required, no, ma'am, I think.
No, no, curly braces is for formatting. No? I'm taking the variable directly.
No,
Correct, but
this
this is
column
string.
x does not
Inside
exist.
string,
No,
if
it is a
variable has,
string.
yes.
Yeah, that's why we are using the string formatting. No, because x is not having some like integer value or anything.
So
It is a string.
X is a list. No,
X
X
is
is a list,
x
ma'am.
is a string. Okay.
No, X is a list, no? Ma'am, can you
X
try
is
X
x is containing what? Okay,
list?
if you want to write print x, X is containing just the name of the player. List will be your result. Okay, see, this is the name of the player, Shloka, that is present in X. Okay, but since it is a string, so you have to write using the string formats, or you can use %s. Okay, or you can even use that F string. You know F string. So if we write it like this, see, if I write F here, okay, and then you write your query, then inside this you can just write this within curly braces. This is also one way of writing, and you have to put it within uh, inverted commas. So this should also work. This is F string.
Ma'am, or I can just do like n equals x and then I can put only n into the query, right? Because then n will contain the string and n will be a variable.
X is containing the string already. So why would you want to use an extra variable? See,
Here
this
x
is
is a
getting a,
value and I think that's why it's not
no, it is
getting.
giving the correct output. No, see, it is
Ma'am,
correct.
because this will give, ma'am, because in the name also itself, in the name itself, I'm not able to use the quotes, na. The
This is
name
the
after
name
the name
only.
equals the Python of this.
This X is
The Python
inside
is
the.
taking it as a variable. Like,
It is taking it as a string. No, that's why I put these inverted commas here.
yes,
Whatever
ma'am.
the X value is, it is
My
taking it as
question
a
is,
string.
ma'am, but if I only use x na, so it will take it as a
Yeah,
variable.
yeah.
Like x is an
Then it
unknown
is. Yeah,
variable.
then it is. So you have to
But if I
format the
put n
string.
equals x and then I use n.
Yeah, you can try that. Maybe it will work. I'm not sure. I haven't done it.
Hmm.
I only do it 3 different ways. So once I use that %s, or I use this F string, or I use normal string formatting using format. Okay, so these 3 will definitely work. Other ways also you can try, might work. But these are Python problems, so I'm not going to discuss them much. So let's discuss another problem. So every time we tell students this, that Python queries are not what we are looking for. We are looking to solve the SQL part. Okay. So there are
Correct,
Python, you
ma'am.
can do one thing different, many different ways. See,
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
that's
could you
when the Python part is also not done properly, then the question
but
gets wrong.
yes, but Python is one of your foundational subjects, right?
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
can
But
expect that
here
students know basic formatting.
it is both are
No, no.
working.
See, I'll take half a minute. Python, we can always search, go back to our lectures, or find neat, simple solutions on internet. But DBMS, once these live sessions are over, we have very limited resources to clarify DBMS related. I mean the objects they are using right now, no, for connection with Python and all. So I ask Python related questions, but focus on the difficult parts. See, list,
Like,
string
one more
formatting,
thing,
file
these
read
things you
objects.
can just write even on ChatGPT. If you write a simple prompt that give me how to read
Yes,
multiple
ma'am.
lines in a file, it can give you. Okay, but yeah, definitely, if you have queries, you can ask. But let's focus on the SQL part more. I'll
Yes.
show you different types of formatting. Okay.
Yeah. And Python help discourse is open. Even students will be
Yes,
happy to
anytime
answer
you can
Python
post.
queries also.
Yeah.
So
Okay. See, this one you can solve. So it is written, write a Python program to print the roll number of the student. Student's first name is given in a file name, name.txt. See, only one information. Okay. Now the output of the Python program is only roll number. So if the name of the student is Vikas, then output must be CS01. So this is the schema, right? Mm. So tell me, what is the query from this? First of all, what do I need to change in this? Forget the query. First thing, what do I need to do? I need to read the file. Right. So change the file name, name.txt. Now the name of the player is name of the student is stored in X. What do we need to find? His roll number. So what is the SQL query?
Select roll number from student.
Select roll number from students, where what is given to us? First name. So student underscore fname, which is stored in X.
Is equal to x.
Okay, so I have done the formatting again. So format X. Then you execute the query. Result should be this, fetch all. Let's test this.
So OPP also will be similar lines questions, no?
All similar types. These are OPPIQs only.
Oh, okay.
Why do we
So
print the result?
here, see, for I in result, print I of 0. Okay,
No,
something
before
is wrong.
that we
Oh, right.
print the result.
This, yeah,
Is
this is
needed.
not required. See, this is what will be stored in the actual result variable. This is a list of tuples. So only one
Yes.
tuple is there, right?
Yes. So
That's
you
why we
get.
need to print
Yeah,
the
you're showing.
element inside it.
Yes, you're showing it. So this is a list. This is a tuple has only one element.
Yes. So there can be multiple tuples if I fetch multiple different things. Okay. Multiple rows might be there. Each
Do
row
they
is
ask us to print the whole tuple?
no,
Sometimes
no, no. Only the information.
only the first element, or
No, there can be the second element, third element. There's questions like that also. I will show you. Okay. But only the element, not the list of tuples.
But multiple fields from the tuple, that kind of
Yeah,
thing also. Okay.
possible, yes.
Okay.
So this is the correct output, right? Let's try one more question. This is
So if we have to print full tuple, the I of 0 will be replaced by just I. So the full
yeah,
tuple
just I.
will.
Yeah,
Okay.
then full tuple.
we have to remember this whole format for the
This
exam.
format you have to remember. Okay, let's try except finally these environment variable initiation, all of these. Okay, this will just this part will be
Ma'am,
given in the question, the environment variables part, nothing else.
ma'am, after you are done with this, could you please show how to set up in VS Code,
How
how
to
to
set up
run any
this in
query,
VS Code?
how to run any query in VS Code?
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, let's try this. This is asking. Yeah, this is a good question. See, write a Python program to print the background. I'm sorry, to print the playground of the given team ID, where team ID is present in a text file named team.txt. Okay, so output should be only the playground name. So, for example, if team ID is T0002, output should be Villa Park like this. So I have already written the code for this. We can just go through this once. Everything is same. Just change the text file name here, right? And the query will be what you want the playground name for a particular team ID. So select playground from teams where team ID is again format X. So X contains that team ID name. Then you execute same. Nothing I have changed. Exactly same as the previous query. Just the SQL part has been changed. Okay, that's why I'm saying that just focus on the SQL part more, because more or less the rest of the code will be same for all the questions. Okay, so let's try one question which is different, where you have to print concatenate strings and stuff. I think that will be better. Yeah. So read the problem statement. It is visible for everyone, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Just read it properly once. So what is it saying? That we need a Python program to print the student's first name, corresponding department name, respective year of date of birth, and if the we don't have to print the actual year. Okay,
You
if
have
the
to
year
print
is
if it's
odd,
odd or even.
yeah, so you have to print if it's odd or if it's even. So if, for example, the student's name is Suman, department is computer science, and his 2002 is the year he was born, so it is even. So then the
No
final output should
spaces. No spaces, but
no
there should be a
spaces.
comma.
Yeah, comma separated. So that means you have to do string concatenation, right? So Suman will be there, then you have to add a comma. So plus inverted commas, you insert a
Or
comma,
that
then again
end
plus.
or that ends something with a comma.
Yeah, that also you can do. Okay. So string concatenation, you can just do it in one line. I'll use that to show you. So this should be the exact output format. Name followed by department, followed by odd or even according to the birth year, and it should be comma separated. So in this, can you tell me that what is something extra that we will need, except for the print part, forget the result. What is something extra that we will need to solve this?
Checking
An
the
odd
year.
even check function.
Odd even function, right? So we have to write an extra function that checks whether the birth year is odd or even. And since DOB is in the format of you know the format, so year, month, date, like this. So we have to extract the year from that and then check, right? So let's write that. Let me take the basic format from here. So now we'll make all the changes. Okay, so file student's first name is given in name.txt. Up to this everything is same. Then you establish the connection. All of this up to this everything is same. Now the query has to change. So what all do we need? We need the name of the student, the department,
and the date of birth.
and we also need the year, right? So now look at the question. The schema is given to you. So what tables do I need? What are the tables?
Faculty, book authors, departments, book
Departments and
catalog.
students.
Students and departments.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's write. So first, let's write student. What do we need first? Student F name. So select student F name. Then what do we need? Department name. From. So is there anything in common between students and departments table?
Department code.
Department code.
So we can do a natural join. That's fine. So I can write from. Okay, we also need the date of birth, right? Because if we don't get the date of birth, then we cannot fetch the. Okay, we can write it in a separate line also. 1 second. Here we can just work with these two. Okay, let me write the DOB here only. Department name and DOB. Yeah. So from students, natural join departments, where student F name is present in the X variable that we read. Okay, is this query fine with everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Up to now it is okay. The query is okay, but that is not what we want to print, right? So we have to make a lot of changes in the print part. So after that you execute the query, you do fetch all in result. But now this print will change, because what is the format we need? Now if I just do a print result here, let's see what it is first fetching.
I think it should be list of two.
Yeah, list of tuples, and each tuple will contain what?
3 elements.
3 elements. So the name will be their department name and date of birth.
The rest is Python now.
Yeah, rest is Python, but still I will solve that part. Okay. Yeah, see, this is the Pooja was the name given.
Sorry to interrupt. These queries made through the connection, we cannot use inbuilt SQL functions in these queries. Like there is a concat function. I'm just
No,
saying.
I don't think we can use them here.
Okay, so we
We
should
use
just
Python.
fetch.
Yeah,
Okay.
go on.
So we should just fetch basic things and do the
Yeah,
rest all
basically what
processing
you
in
will do
Python.
is whatever this query result is, so you fetch all into the result variable, or if you want a single tuple, you do fetch one. So whatever the format is, that remains exact same list of tuples. Okay. Now whatever you want to navigate inside that list of tuples, we do it using Python. Right. So the ultimate result that you print, that will be formatted using Python only. Okay. So let's remove print result from here. So now what do we need to do? We need to first, this is the way that we get the result. From here we need to extract the name, the department, and from this date of birth we need the year, and we have to check whether this year is odd or even. Right. So we need to define a function. So first let's write a function. We can write it here before this. After this X file is read, here you can write, let's define even, odd. It will take some year, let's call it num. So inside this function, if num%2 is equal to 0, wait, The indentation is wrong. If num% 2 is equal to 0, then you have to return what?
Even.
Even. And then in the else part, you can just write else return 1. Okay. So this is the function that will check for the year. Now we have to fetch the actual year and everything, the name, department name. So what can we do here? So for I in result means the entire tuple, right? So let's take them into separate variables. So let's take a variable A, which will store I of 0. That is the name. Okay. Then we have B. So this will store the
Ma'am, I
department.
think, ma'am, shouldn't it be I of 0 0?
No, there is only one tuple.
How about the tuple has 3 elements? Na?
Yes. So
List.
you will write I0, I1, I2.
I is a tuple. I is not a list. So
I is not the list. I is the tuple itself. For I
first
in
tuple.
result, right?
Yeah.
Result is the list.
Right.
Okay. So I of 0, I of 1, and then in C will store the entirety of B. So I of 2. Okay. Then we can write one more variable year, in which I can use this C
I
dot
of
year. We can use this, right? So if I write C dot year or C dot month, then it will fetch the month. C dot year will fetch the year. So you write C dot year. Anything more? Is this enough?
So, ma'am, C is I of 2, and I of 2 is being written like date time dot date. So Python understands that as a date.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you can fetch the year, month, and date.
But why is it returning it in that format, date, time, date?
This is the actual format for date, right? It will write this, the type of which this is. So date will be returned as this, the actual data type, that is date time.
That is how it is in the relation table.
In the relation table, it is in that YYYYMMDD format. But when you fetch it, so it will also get the type of
Because here
the date.
connection is with Python. No, the the connection is taking care that
Yeah.
Python should know what it's returning. So that's why.
So one thing we can do is, so year is now storing what? The year, the date of birth, the year from the date of birth. But that's not enough. We need to check that whether this is an even or odd, right?
So you have to call the function.
Yeah. So I'll just put this inside parenthesis. So this will be my argument for the function. And here you can write even odd. Okay. So this function, whether it returns odd or even, will be stored in the year variable now. Okay. Next, I have to also concatenate the strings in a way that it matches the
Can we
output.
use year only as the variable since you are saying C dot year?
No, this is a method, right? This will just fetch. I can use year variable, it's fine. Any variable you can use, year is also okay. Okay, if you want, I can change this. Let's change
Ma'am,
it
we are
to.
also using cursor now. That also is not causing an issue.
It doesn't cause an issue. Okay, those are methods.
Right.
Okay, so if you want to name it as D, it's fine. So what is the question saying? That see.
Now it's saying name, department, and
This is
either
the
the year is
format,
in.
right? So now we have to print it in this format. So get out of the for loop. Then here you will write print. First we need A, right? But they have to be comma separated. So plus, I'll use a comma. You can use those methods also. Different ways to do this. So then you need B, again one more comma.
Ma'am, we will have to be inside for na. Otherwise, for will finish and then only one
No,
tuple.
actually, what there is only one tuple, na? Because for one student I'm finding it.
Uh,
Okay. If for multiple
okay, okay.
tuples, then you can get
Understood,
the full
understood,
statement.
understood.
Yeah. So A plus comma plus B plus comma, and last you'll have D. Okay. That is the year. So then we do cursor close. I hope this will work. Let's check. So this is the exact format we needed. Okay, so this question is actually the toughest type of question you might get. Okay, won't get any tougher than this. You might just have to write a simple function like this odd even and just the string formatting. This is all that is the difficulty part. Otherwise, just write the SQL query correctly. That's all. Okay, so this is most of these questions that we have done practice 3, 4, 5, 6. So encoding teams is, we don't discuss this because it is way more difficult than we will ask in the exams and all. So you can skip this question. You can do practice 1 that you can do by yourself. I won't solve this. Rest of them I have solved. Okay, so one more thing is when you go to the graded assignment or the practice assignment, you'll see a lot of theory based questions. So those questions, just if you go through the slides, you can solve them. Okay, those are not difficult. But from week 7, theory questions will not come. Okay, only OP. It is required only for OP. So before OP, we'll have 2-3 sessions. One of them will just be based on this Python DB connectivity. We'll practice some more problems on this, and other 1 or 2 sessions will be on the SQL part only. So is this particular problem clear? This question?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone has a doubt?
Ma'am,
So,
in such cases, sorry to
hmm.
interrupt. Ma'am, in such cases, so we can also like omit the for loop, right?
In what case?
In such cases where we are only getting like one tuple or one output for the result.
But you are getting it in the form of a tuple, right? And in
Huh.
all questions, we are asking you to just print the element inside the tuple.
For that, I'll use result 0, 0, 0, 1 and 0 of 2. Result
Yeah.
0, 0, result
What
0.
did we do? For I in result, you can just print I of 0.
If I remove for loop, so I'll use result of 0, 0. 0, 0, 0 will also give me the name.
Yeah. If you have a single tuple, then you can write that also. Okay, we are using a for because in case there are more tuples, so if you are used to writing this, then you won't mess up even if you forget that there are more than one tuple. So writing it inside a loop is a good practice. You can also write it normally. Okay. If there is only one single value, then yeah, one line of code is also enough.
Got it.
So what we have to do in these things, see, the part you have to remember definitely is what libraries we need. Someone was asking, I think, that order of libraries, that all doesn't matter. You can import them in any order. Okay. But these 3 libraries should be present. You should definitely read whatever is in the text file. And then you write the try except block. Okay. And this part you definitely have to remember up to this.
The user
Concept.
and password will be like this only, ma'am, for OPP, or something else will have to write?
This only. Okay. If there is anything particular, it will be given in the question. Okay. In this part, see, in the environment variables part in the question, here it will be mentioned.
Okay, ma'am.
But this is the basic structure. So just memorize up to this part, this cursor connection establishment. This is also not very difficult to memorize. Okay. After that, you write your query and all of this remains same, the entire structure. Just the changes is in the query and the result printing part. So some string formatting is required. That's it.
So we have to write only this code in the portal, right, ma'am?
Correct. Yeah. But you have to type everything. You can't copy paste.
Understood, ma'am. Understood.
Okay. So just take care of the indentations because Python, that can mess up your program. Okay, so I hope if you have any more doubts, you can ask. Anyone has any doubts? Even Python related ones. It's okay.
Ma'am, I have some queries, but regarding week 6.
Yeah, I also have from the graded assignment that insert query, ma'am.
From week 7?
No, graded, sorry, quiz 1, insert.
Okay, quiz 1 questions you have queried for.
That insert question, I'm not sure. I want
can
to
you
know
share
how.
it?
No,
Yeah,
how do we use insert?
Insert where? In this?
The format, format of insert.
Oh, insert into values and then you write the table name. Insert into table then values and then you write the values in exact format.
They had given 2 tables.
Yeah, okay.
Insert one table into another.
Insert one table into another?
Yes, insert from.
Do you have the question?
No, I don't have it.
Okay, let
No,
me.
I don't know such question was there.
I think insert into a particular table, inserting some rows was there. That can be it. I am not sure if it was there. I don't remember. But okay, let me check if such a question is there.
Ma'am,
I
we had
don't.
brought out
Yeah.
some quiz one queries on the forum. Have they been addressed? Like, uh,
On discourse you have.
yes, ma'am. The instructor asked that if quiz one you have any queries. So there was one wrong answer in the quiz. Uh,
Okay, which question was wrong?
Student to many relationship. Uh,
Yeah,
Student to
diagram.
enrolls. Huh.
Okay. Oh, there was an error in that. Okay, if there is an
Error
error,
was
definitely
answer was
marks will
one
be
too many.
increased.
Answer was one too many, but correct answer depicted in the answer key was many to one. But later on
Okay.
the discourse, Mr. Piyush agreed that it should be one to many.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so
then,
if Piyush sir has seen it, then either that question will be removed from evaluation or we will give marks to everybody. Okay, one of these
okay,
things will happen.
okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Any more questions? Week 6 questions. There is this Saturday session is on week 6, so there you can discuss week 6 doubts. Today I'll only take week 7.
Well,
So week
and
7, do you have
previous
Ma'am,
week,
I had some
we-
conceptual doubts, ma'am, not the questions.
from week 6?
yes,
Yes,
ma'am. One more
Okay,
thing.
okay.
Already one session of week 6 was taken. Where will I find the link?
It's in YouTube. Do
Yes,
you
please.
have the YouTube channel? Okay, I'll post the YouTube channel
Yes,
link.
please post it here.
See, this is the channel. Okay. Posted the link in chat box.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, week 6, what conceptual doubt do you have? Week 7, that's it. Okay, if you don't have any doubts, you can
yes,
leave.
ma'am. Ma'am,
Yeah, tell me. What doubt?
yes, ma'am. Should I continue?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, in this 4NF part, ma'am, like it says if alpha multidetermines beta,
Hmm.
so in 4NF, like alpha should be a super key, right?
Hmm.
That means alpha can be in a candidate key also.
4 and F, right?
But
Let's
if alpha, yeah,
one
like if
second.
alpha
Which
is
what
repeating itself
it
multiple
is in
times,
which this slide? Do you remember?
ma'am, it's in
I mean, was 4
just a
and
minute.
F discussed in previous session? Because 4 and F is a little bit hard to just go over. I mean, it's a difficult concept to understand. Did you do 4 and F in the previous session? Because usually I
Actually,
know that Piyush sir does that. So I think in the next session he will discuss 4 and F only. So with the help of some questions, that is better understood. 4 and F has a lot of constraints.
okay, ma'am.
Still,
Yes, ma'am. 4NF MVD.
I think, yeah, 4 and F MVD, this part is
Ma'am,
remaining.
ma'am, the issue was like, I mean, I received the message. I read the message late. It was on the meeting box. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. It
I
was
got
the
to know it
announcement
about
came
later
late.
when the session was over.
Yes, yes. But I
He
think in that
announced
session,
announcement came
3
around
NF
3
or
p.m. the same.
BCNF. Yeah, I think 3 NF or BCNF up to that it was done because Piyush sir will take a 4 NF in the next session. Okay.
Right, ma'am. So can I ask something related to BCNF if it
Yeah,
contains
yeah, yeah,
something?
sure.
But ma'am, this is just also contains like 4NF. Like my query is that if a relation is in 4NF, then it's in BCNF.
Your
If
voice
a
is
relation is
cutting
in
off. I
4NF, then
can't.
it's also in BCNF. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me, ma'am?
I can't hear. Let me
Hello, ma'am. Can you
rejoin,
hear me?
okay?
Hello.
Let me just rejoin. My internet is a little. Wait, let me rejoin. Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, not audible.
Okay, great, ma'am. Great. So, ma'am, like my question query was, there's this statement. It's a fact that if a relation is in 4NF, then it's in BCNF,
Yes.
and the conditions are like if alpha determines beta, that automatically implies alpha multi determines beta, right?
Hmm. In
But
4NF.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah.
But alpha multi determines beta does not imply alpha determines beta.
Alpha multi-determines beta
Like the
does
reverse is
not
not true.
imply. Hmm.
A determines beta implies A multi determines beta, but the reverse is not true, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. See, in BCNF, one thing we can say for sure is that the left-hand side is a super key.
Right,
Okay.
ma'am.
That you have to check. In 4NF, there are a lot of conditions you have to check. First of all, whenever we go to a higher normal form, that means all the other lower normal forms are definitely satisfied. Right. So
Right, ma'am.
4NF means it is in BCNF for sure. So these are the specifications. Wait, 6.4. Yeah. See, these are the rules. Okay. This one you see T1 alpha is equal to T1, T2 alpha equal to T3 alpha equal to T4 alpha. If this is the case, then you
Yes,
have to check all of these other conditions. Now
right.
these will be better understood with the help of an example. Okay, so
Yeah,
you can just take one such table and then apply all these conditions. Okay, if these are true, then you can say it's in BCNF. But the checking for BCNF is a lot different than any of 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, BCNF. 4NF, the checking is a lot different. You have to check a lot of different things. So first you have to look for MVDs. What are the MVDs? So
I
MVD.
remember the condition, ma'am.
Hmm.
Like T1 alpha, T2 alpha, T3 alpha, T4 alpha. Then T1 beta is T3 beta, T3 T2 beta equals T4 beta,
Correct.
and then T1 gamma equals T4 gamma, and T2 gamma equals T3 gamma.
T3 gamma. Right. So these conditions, if they're fulfilled, then you can say that and this is the MVD definition. Right. Then it's a proper MVD. But then decomposition is different. This part is decomposition into 4NF. So a relation is in 4NF with respect to a set D of functional and multi-valued dependency for all the multi-valued dependencies in D closure. That is the closure set of functional dependencies, where the multi-valued dependencies of the form alpha multi determines beta. So there you have to make sure that where alpha is a proper subset of R and beta is a proper subset of R, then at least one of the following should hold. So alpha multi-determines beta is trivial, that is beta is a proper subset of alpha, or
Right,
the
ma'am.
union gives the actual relationship, or alpha is a super key.
Right.
So any of these should hold. Okay. Anyways, 4NF will be discussed again in 6 week 6 Saturday session. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask you, sir, also.
Right, ma'am. Like my query was just like if a relation or the FDs if they contain only MVDs only, तो फिर तो it's not possible ना BC ने.
Hmm.
Like
BCNF.
हाँ, like if alpha multidetermines beta and alpha multidetermines C or theta or something. They're
Okay.
only
But
they know.
BCNF means what? That left hand side has to be a super key.
Right, ma'am.
So if there are two MVDs, like this, say alpha determines beta and
Beta
maybe.
suppose like beta determines something else or something else
Hmm.
determines
Hmm.
something else like gamma determines something else.
Hmm.
Multi determines, sorry. There's no FD, only MVDs.
Only MVDs.
So in
Okay.
that case, तो फिर we cannot establish BCNM.
Mm, I don't think. Yeah. I think in that case it is not possible to determine. Anyways, there is also this one thing na, that you cannot totally remove all kinds of these redundancies, because even if a database is in the fourth normal form or is in BCNF, right? So we cannot say for some cases BCNF makes sure that all redundancies are removed. Okay, but that's not always the case. So yeah, I think if what the set that you are saying that it only contains MVD, there we cannot say for sure that it is in BCNF. That's the question, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think so. I think we cannot say for sure. What is your reasoning?
Sorry, ma'am.
What is your reasoning
Reasoning for.
that why we cannot say that it's not in BCNF or it's in BCNF? So is it in 4NF? Can we first say that it's in 4NF? We
Right.
cannot establish.
That we'll have to check.
Yeah. So if it is 4NF, then it is definitely BCNF. Okay. Otherwise, if it is not in 4NF, first of all, we have to check every FD set from the basic. We have to check from 1NF.
Right.
Okay. But if there are multi-value dependencies, then you definitely know you have to check for 4NF also. But if it doesn't fit that 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, then only you will go to the higher normal form, right?
Right. So first I'll have to check for FN 4NF, and then
Yeah,
if
but
that.
4NF questions, what kind of questions? If you check out the PYQ, the questions are of very specific forms. Like you don't have to check if it is in. Some questions might be that if it is in 4NF or not. So there are questions where the table is given and some other rows are added to the table. Then you have to make sure whether these multi-value dependencies are whole or not.
Right. And ma'am, another question, ma'am. Like for MVDs, are the super keys or the rules for super keys different
No, no.
than the FDs, or are they similar?
Super key is super key only.
Acha, for example, ma'am, like this alpha multi determines beta, or it's supposed there. Okay.
Hmm.
So how can alpha be a super key? Because alpha is repeating multiple times.
No, no. First of all, these things we are checking now. Oh, you mean that the super key definition for MVD is different or not?
That one, ma'am.
No,
Like
super key definition remains same only.
but ma'am, when I use MVD, for example, I have to break it into multiple like values.
Yeah, yeah.
So if alpha,
Like this you have to break. So M1, P1, M2, P2 like this.
yes, ma'am, for that, the alpha is repeating, ma'am. Even if I try to make the other beta unique, so alpha breaks down into duplicates, and I cannot remove any tuple.
No, you cannot remove.
हाँ, तो I lose data if I remove. So how can I establish that alpha is a super key when I'm dealing with MVDs? Like for
Alpha is a
example,
super key, right? Like
for
how
example,
can you say for sure because these are repeating values.
yes, ma'am. For 4NF, we need at least four tuples, like in the
Hmm,
standard
hmm, hmm.
definition. So alpha is repeating four times.
Hmm.
When I say like is alpha super key and I check for 4NF, it is the alpha super key of beta or gamma or something. So how would I understand like is alpha super key because it's repeating, na? And we are told
Like
that
how to check that condition that if alpha multi determines beta is present, if alpha is a super key or not.
yes, ma'am. Like for us, the super key is like unique. Key is unique.
Hmm. It is, see, the key, super key means what? That it can identify every tuple uniquely. So can alpha do that? That you have to look at the FD set. But if alpha multi determines beta, that means for one alpha value there are multiple beta values. But the entire tuple we are checking for, na? Not just the beta value. So is alpha determining other, maybe gamma, delta, whatever other columns are there. So if alpha determines all of them, then it's a super key. So
But
that
when
depends
super,
on the FD set. Yeah,
yes, ma'am.
super key has to be unique, right? That's what you're
So,
saying.
but when super key by definition is minimum candidate key.
No, no, no. Super key is not minimal candidate key. Primary key is that. Candidate key is the minimal super key. Okay, not the other way around. Super key can be anything. Super key
Sorry.
is a superset of candidate key. Okay, candidate key is the minimal super key.
Candidate key is the minimal super key, ma'am, right?
Hmm.
So
So
if
super key itself, super key's definition just says that it is a combination of attributes
yes.
which uniquely identifies a tuple in a relationship. So if alpha is multi-determining beta, then how to say that alpha is a super key? So is alpha determining the other attributes also? That depends on the functional dependency set. Let's say there are three three attributes, alpha, beta, gamma.
Hmm.
So if alpha determines both beta and gamma,
Right.
right, then alpha can be a super key. I think this won't matter because see, even if here M1, once it is related determining P1, once it is determining P2, but there are other columns also, right? So the entire tuple becomes unique. M1 P1 D2 is a separate tuple, M1 P2 D1 is a separate tuple. So
So
uniquely you can identify.
in that case, so we will have to take all the attributes, no? Alpha, beta, gamma, because Alpha is
So
not only
super,
determining
no,
that.
no, super key is doing that only. You have to take all the attributes. Super key determines all attributes in a particular tuple,
Mhm. So,
just like primary key. Yeah,
right now, alpha like is a set of like attributes, right?
yeah. It can be a single attribute. It can be a set of attribute, whatever.
So for
If
single
it is a
attributes,
single attribute, then it becomes the primary or candidate key itself.
for that, तो फिर it will have to be unique. Na? फिर we cannot
Yeah,
go for MVDs in that case if it's
primary key is always unique. Candidate key can be more than one. So there can be more than one minimal super key.
ma'am. I agreed, ma'am. But candidate key must also be unique, na? Because it may also be a primary key. Candidate key
No,
is
no.
something that we
Unique
did not
in the
make.
sense you are saying I'm not saying a key is unique. Okay. What the key determines, that is uniquely determines a tuple. The key itself, I'm not saying it's unique. Okay. There can be always more than one candidate keys out of which you can pick a primary key.
Yes, ma'am.
But the candidate keys should each determine every tuple uniquely. So there should not be two exactly identical tuples.
That would be redundancy, ma'am. That will be removed.
Yeah. Like here also these two tuples are not exactly identical. But
Uh,
these questions I think will be better answered in the actual 4NF class when you start from the beginning, not in the middle like this. Okay.
no issues, ma'am. No issues. Ma'am, regarding this three and F,
Hmm.
in the slides is given that intransitivity, we are given that.
3NF, yeah, that is transitive dependency, right?
Yes, ma'am. So it's given that A determines B and B determines C, but there is also a
Hmm.
condition that B determines A should not exist.
Listen, the easiest way to know determine whether transitive dependency is present or not is you just check whether a non-prime attribute is determining another non-prime attribute or not.
Right, ma'am.
Okay. If this is present, that means transitive dependency is present.
Right, ma'am. That I got it. My query was regarding this: why we are restricting the existence of B determines A in the case of A determine B and B determines C. So if B determine A is present or if it's not present, like what's the difference? For
Just give me one more time. Just tell me the question.
ma'am, like in the slide for transitive, what do you call dependency?
Yeah,
Okay.
let me find it. Which one was it? 6.3, I think. No,
Yes, ma'am. Just
3 and no, this is the LIS.
query. Video two.
Then 6.2, I think.
Yes,
This 3 and yeah. This one you're saying?
ma'am. Could you please share your screen, ma'am? Your screen is not.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry. 1 second. Yeah, this one. This is the decomposition. Testing for 3 and you need, right?
Ma'am, it was transitive dependency. The slide itself is transitive dependency.
Let's see. This is the BCNF, transitive dependency. These are all the decompositions, I think, only. Wait, here it won't be. Normal forms are very important for quiz 2. So 1NF, 2NF, 3, third normal form. This one.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what is it saying? Let A, B, and C designate three distinct attributes or distinct collections of attributes in a relation. Suppose all three of the following conditions hold. Okay. So A determines B, but it is not the case that B determines A and B determines C. So yeah, from here we can definitely say A determines C is not a, it is a functional dependency which follows from 1 and 3. So it is transitive.
Yes, ma'am. My query was, ma'am, like if A determines B is there, B determines C is there.
Hmm.
So what impact is there in having B determines A? Like even if it's there or not there, I think in my opinion it should not affect the dependency, but they are saying that it should not be there. They are mandating this fact or this thing.
So if B determines A is there, that means okay, transitive dependency is what? Non-prime to non-prime,
Hmm.
right? So if B determines A is there, then here we can say A determines all three, but then B will also determine all three. Uh, but C is not determining anything. So this one is so okay. Let's check it this way. First of all, is this even a partial dependency? Okay, A is a prime attribute, right? For this particular relation, if it has only A, B, and C,
Right.
so then A becomes prime, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Because A determines everything, so it is candidate key. So A becomes prime attribute. Then C is a non-prime attribute. So prime to non-prime.
That's partial dependency.
No, it's partial dependency only when it is a part, the prime attribute is a part of the candidate key, not the entire candidate key.
Sorry, ma'am.
Partial depend Partial dependency happens when a prime attribute determines a non-prime attribute, but that prime attribute is not the whole candidate key, it is a part of the candidate key.
Mhm.
That is partial dependency. That is, a non-prime attribute is partially dependent on a prime attribute.
Right, ma'am.
So here A is a prime attribute, as I can see. So transitive should be non-prime to non-prime. This is a transitive dependency. Yeah,
So in
let's.
okay, ma'am. So in case if B determines A becomes like present, so B will also become a prime key, like a candidate key.
Prime attribute is anything that forms the primary key, okay, or the candidate key. Any attributes that are present in the candidate key are prime attributes. Whatever is not present is non-prime attribute.
हाँ जी मैम. Like if B to A is present, so B will also become, then B to C will
Prime.
become.
B will also become prime then.
हाँ तो prime to something तो फिर तो no issues फिर ना वो फिर valid कर देगा, that will validate the case.
So इस example में वही दिया, see book to author nationality applies. Okay, functional dependency, book determines both author and nationality. So this is the table, actual table. So it has book genre, author, and author nationality.
Yes,
So in that is, if we know the book, we know the author's nationality. Furthermore, what can we say? That book determines author and author determines author nationality.
right ma'am.
But author does not determine book.
Hmm.
So therefore, book determines author nationality is a transitive dependency. Okay, functional dependency applies. That is, if we know the book, we know the author's nationality. So this set is given to me then, that book determines author and author determines the author nationality. But you're asking that why author cannot determine book.
मैम हाँ वो आपकी बात समझ आ गया मैम, वो कि अगर ऑथर बुक डिटरमाइन करेगा तो फिर वो जो ऑथर है वो भी वो प्राइम की बन जाएगा ना फिर तो. फिर बुक ऑथर जो है वो वैलिड हो जाएगा, ऑथर बुक वैलिड हो जाएगा, तो वो ट्रांजिटिव नहीं रहेगा.
Then वो transitive नहीं रहेगा,
Right, right.
because you need non-prime to non-prime.
ठीक है, तो वो मतलब एक कंडीशन है, वही मैं कंपल्सन समझ जाता, भाई कंपल्शन क्यों होना चाहिए, वो ठीक है.
If A to B हो रहा है, then B to A नहीं होना चाहिए.
राइट मैम, क्योंकि फिर वो बी टू सी वाला फिर वो उसके साथ ही
हाँ,
दोनों
फिर दोनों प्राइम बन जाएंगे.
ठीक है.
ओके, ठीक है. फिर सैटरडे के क्लास में यू कैन डिस्कस दैट 4NF thoroughly. ओके,
राइट.
ओके.
और मैम एक उसमें था प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चन, एक मिनट, उसमें वो जैसे मैम अगर क्वेश्चन में नहीं दे रखा होगा कुछ, फॉर एग्जांपल
मतलब टेबल
नहीं जैसे क्वेश्चन में ये नहीं दे रखा कि द टेबल्स और रिलेशंस डू नॉट हैव एनी एटॉमिक वैल्यू, लाइक ऐसा मेंशन नहीं है, तो उस केस में मैम अज्यूम करना है या नहीं करना है कि हाँ भाई.
ऑलवेज अज्यूम कि मतलब ऐसा अगर हम 4NF के लिए चेक करने जा रहे हैं ना, देन वी यूजुअली अज्यूम कि ऑल टेबल्स आर इन 1NF. ओके, वी फर्स्ट स्टार्ट चेकिंग. अब अगर देखो तुम्हारे टेबल में तुम्हें देख के पता लग रहा है कि एटॉमिक वैल्यूज नहीं है, that you can see a single column has two different values or more than one values, then you can definitely say कि 1NF valid नहीं है यहाँ पे. But looking at the table, if there are all atomic values, you can assume that it is in 1NF. Okay, so you can check starting after that.
राइट मैम, बट जैसे ये ना अपना प्रैक्टिस असाइनमेंट 6 मैम, तो इसमें जो है क्वेश्चन नंबर 3 है, लाइक सभी क्वेश्चन में मेंशन है कि एवरी एट्रीब्यूट हैज एटॉमिक डोमेन एंड एटॉमिक वैल्यूज. उस क्वेश्चन, हाँ जी,
प्रैक्टिस असाइनमेंट कौन सा?
6 मैम, PA6.
क्वेश्चन नंबर
3 मैम.
दिस वन.
यस मैम, लाइक सभी क्वेश्चंस में एटॉमिक वैल्यूज मेंशन है, बस इसमें
yeah
नहीं
yeah
है.
consider it is in 1NF. Okay, you start checking from 2NF.
राइट.
मेंशन नहीं भी हो तो इतना तुम पकड़ के चलो कि इट इज इन 1NF. अगर टेबल दिया हुआ है देन यू कैन चेक फॉर एटॉमिक वैल्यूज और नॉट. ठीक है.
Right.
ओके. Okay, then I'll close. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Hello, ma'am, you there?
Yeah.
अच्छा, मैम लास्ट क्वेरी थी मैम. क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 मैम. 6 क्वेश्चन 2.
अच्छा, एक सेकंड रुको. प्रैक्टिस ना, ये वाला
यस
क्वेश्चन.
मैम. यस. हाँ जी मैम. 2.
हाँ, क्या है इसमें? कंसीडर द रिलेशनल स्कीमा इंक्लूड एटॉमिक वैल्यूज ओनली आर सेटिस्फाइज फंक्शनल डिपेंडेंसी आइडेंटिफाई करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट. ओके. हाँ, तो इसमें तुमको चेक करना पड़ेगा. पहले चेक करो पार्शियल डिपेंडेंस. पहले की निकालो इस रिलेशन का. की क्या होगा?
की मैम 6 निकल रही है मैम इसकी.
ए बी कैन डिटरमाइन सी डी ई कैन डिटरमाइन एफ. तो ए बी तो एक की हो गया, बट इससे भी छोटा कोई की प्रेजेंट है. सी कैन
नहीं मैम.
डिटरमाइन बी, सो ए बी विल बी 1 की. और एक की क्या हो सकता है? अगर बी एफ डिटरमाइंस ए, देन फ्रॉम देयर आल्सो यू कैन गेट ऑल ऑफ द एट्रीब्यूट्स.
हाँ, की मैम निकाल रखी है इसकी. ए बी बी एफ ए सी बी ई सी ई सी एफ.
ए सी बी ई.
ए बी बी एफ ए सी
हाँ, तब वहाँ तक
बी
ठीक है. उसके बाद बी ई.
बी ई सी एफ.
अच्छा, एक सेकंड. बी ई कैसे की हो जाएगा? ई डिटरमाइंस एफ.
यस मैम. तो बी एफ
अच्छा, हाँ,
डिटरमाइन
बी
फिर वो
एफ
आ
से
जाएगा
हो
ना.
जाएगा. ठीक है. हाँ, ठीक है. कीज आर देयर. फिर प्राइम एट्रीब्यूट्स कौन कौन से बने?
मैम इसमें डी छोड़ के बाकी सारे हैं.
बाकी सारे प्राइम है.
हम्म.
ठीक है, तो पहले चेक करते हैं फॉर पार्शियल डिपेंडेंसी. तो C is a prime attribute, right? But C is not a candidate key. But C क्या D छोड़ के सारे तुमने बोला प्राइम है, राइट?
जी
D
सब प्राइम
छोड़
है.
के. तो D को कोई डिटरमाइन कर रहा है अकेले? Some prime attribute?
नहीं.
No, only keys are determining D, right? A B is a key. तो ठीक है, that means partial dependency नहीं है. So check for transitive.
मैम
नॉन प्राइम
इसमें
नॉन प्राइम तो हो ही नहीं सकता क्योंकि
राइट
एक
मैम.
ही नॉन प्राइम है.
जस्ट वन क्वेरी मैम बिफोर प्रोसीडिंग. मैम इसमें जैसे अगर मेरे पास एक डिपेंडेंसी है जिसमें कि पार्शियल भी नहीं है वो, और वो जैसे जो लेफ्ट साइड है वो पार्शियल नहीं है, और राइट साइड है वो भी मतलब वो नॉन एट्रीब्यूट है, तो उसको तो कंसीडर नहीं करने की जरूरत है ना फिर पार्शियल के लिए.
मतलब लेफ्ट साइड में क्या है बताओ?
जैसे लेफ्ट साइड पार्शियल नहीं है, लाइक किसी की का वो नहीं है, पार्शियल एट्रीब्यूट नहीं है,
अच्छा, हाँ.
और राइट साइड भी नॉन प्राइम एट्रीब्यूट है, तो अगर वो उसको तो मैं डायरेक्टली मतलब स्किप कर सकते हैं ना उसे.
तो अगर लेफ्ट साइड किसी भी की का मतलब पार्ट नहीं है, इसका मतलब लेफ्ट साइड भी नॉन प्राइम है.
हाँ जी, मतलब हाँ. तो
तो नॉन प्राइम टू नॉन प्राइम फिर वो 3NF में आ जाएगा, ट्रांजिटिव.
अच्छा अच्छा. मतलब टू
हाँ,
एन एफ के लिए उसको स्किप कर सकता हूँ ना मैं, क्या जरूर वो तो फिर देखने की जरूरत ही नहीं
पहले
उसको.
पहले तो तुम 2NF करोगे, उसके बाद 3NF पे जाओगे. तो पहले पार्शियल डिपेंडेंसी चेक करो. अगर नहीं है फिर देन यू चेक फॉर दिस ट्रांजिटिव.
नहीं वही पूछ रहा हूँ मैम, उस डिपेंडेंसी को मैं पार्शियल के लिए कंसीडर करूँ या नहीं,
नो
वो
नो नो
छोड़
नो
दूँ?
नो नो.
ठीक है. हाँ बस.
पार्शियल के लिए बस वो प्राइम टू नॉन प्राइम.
ठीक है. ठीक है.
ठीक है, तो ये 2NF में तो है, 3NF में भी है क्योंकि एक ही योर नॉन प्राइम एट्रीब्यूट है यहाँ पे D. BCNF में है क्या वो देखना है. तो यहाँ पे दो ऑप्शंस है
या तो ट्रिवियल
BCNF.
होगा या सुपर की होनी चाहिए.
So 3NF, one option is saying what R is in 3NF but not in BCNF. और इज इन 3NF ऑल्सो इन BCNF. इसका मतलब लेफ्ट हैंड साइड शुड बी सुपर की, है ना? तो ए भी
Right.
सुपर की है, बट ई इज नॉट अ सुपर की.
नहीं,
BF इज अ सुपर की.
बी हाँ मैम है, बी एफ है।
बट एक एक ऐसा मिल गया ना जिसमें कि सुपर की नहीं है. बट BCNF के दो कंडीशंस थे. एक था
हाँ
कि
जी,
लेफ्ट हैंड साइड कैन बी सुपर की, वन मोर इज राइट
ट्रिवियल
हैंड
की
साइड
मैम,
शुड बी.
जो वो सबसेट प्रॉपर सबसेट होना चाहिए राइट साइड ना,
हाँ,
लेफ्ट साइड का।
पर वो भी नहीं है.
हाँ वो भी नहीं।
दैट मीन्स दिस इज नॉट इन BCNF.
ठीक।
आई थिंक ये वाला आंसर होना चाहिए. प्रैक्टिस का सोल्यूशन दिया हुआ है क्या?
हाँ मैम,
लेट्स
इसके
सी.
तो वो सबमिट करते आ जाते हैं।
अच्छा, लेट्स सी. आई थिंक नहीं है ये, देखते हैं. अच्छा, एक और आंसर है कि आर इज इन 2NF एंड ऑल्सो इन 3NF. हाँ, ये भी होगा. ये तो हमने चेक किया है, बट 3NF में है पर BCNF में नहीं है. तो मल्टीपल सिलेक्ट है ना, तो तुमको ये भी ऑप्शन लेना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, दो करेक्ट ऑप्शन है. ओके, ठीक है. और कोई क्वेश्चन है?
ये क्वेश्चन 5 मैम मेरे को बता दीजिए, लाइक इसको मैं कैसे हैंडल करूँ, टेबल वाला।
क्वेश्चन 5 ये तुम MVD के क्लास के बाद करना. ये क्वेश्चन समझने में टाइम लगेगा. ये MVD का क्लास कर लो, उसके उस दिन समझना.
ठीक।
ओके, ये ऐसे नहीं बताऊंगी मैं. MVD वाला क्वेश्चन यू वेट टिल दैट सैटरडे क्लास. ओके, क्योंकि पीयूष सर विल डू दिस पार्ट वेरी थॉरली. उसके बाद तुम अपने आप कर पाओगे.
राइट।
ओके, BCNF तक क्लियर है ना?
हाँ जी मैम, वो तो
और
क्लियर
एक चीज आई आस्क्ड अदर पीपल आल्सो, बट किसी ने रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं किया उसका. तो क्विज 1 क्वेश्चन डिफिकल्टी लेवल हाउ वाज इट?
नहीं मैम, मतलब कराए हुए थे, क्वेश्चन आए थे सारे।
हाँ, मतलब इट वाज ओके राइट, नथिंग वाज
हाँ
आउट ऑफ सिलेबस और एनीथिंग.
मैम, पढ़ के जाना था, पढ़ के जाता ना हो जाता, वो इजी था, अच्छा था क्वेश्चन, ठीक था।
राइट. और एक क्वेश्चन का वो गलत बताया, आंसर गलत है, वो ERD वाले का.
हाँ जी, वो कह रहे हैं उसमें डिस्कोर्स में डाला।
ओके ओके, ठीक है. सो आई विल चेक दैट. वो ERD वाले का आइदर विल रिमूव फ्रॉम इवैल्यूएशन और विल मार्क्स विल बी गिवन टू एवरीवन.
श्योर मैम, बट मैम वो क्विज का हमारे पास वो नहीं आया ना, ना
क्या
कुछ
नहीं है?
क्विज
सोल्यूशन
का।
कुछ?
हाँ, कुछ नहीं, क्वेश्चन पेपर भी नहीं आया ना, सोल्यूशन कुछ आया नहीं, रिजल्ट उसका तो पता ही नहीं है, क्वेश्चन भी नहीं आया ना हमारे पास अभी के भी
ओ अच्छा अच्छा.
क्लियर कर
ओके,
सके।
आई थिंक इसी वीक रिलीज हो जाएगा वो.
हाँ जी मैम,
ओके.
तो उसका
मैम
डिस्कशन
आ गया
होगा।
है?
आ गया है क्या? आई डोंट नो, आई हैवंट चेक्ड.
मैम आंसर किया गया है.
हाँ, आंसर की फिर आ गया होगा.
ये मैम किस में रिफ्लेक्ट हो रहा है?
अनुराधा, कैन यू टेल हिम वेयर यू कैन सी द आंसर की?
मैम पोर्टल में नीचे हम्म,
आई तो कांट सी एनीथिंग है.
1 मिनट मैम. हाँ, सप्लीमेंट्री कंटेंट में है मैम आंसर की.
ओके.
इसमें ग्रेडेड असाइनमेंट सॉल्यूशंस में?
नहीं, सप्लीमेंट्री कंटेंट में है.
हाँ, उसके अंदर ऑप्शंस है ना 3 सप्लीमेंट्री के अंदर।